It would be great for the government to recognize that folks can't live on this wage. It's not only poverty, it's a slave wage. And it actually stems from emancipation.
That was Maricela Gutierrez from the Restaurants Opportunity Centers United, an advocacy group for restaurant workers. For the last few years, the ROC has been advocating for increases in the tipped minimum wage, which has stayed federally at just $2.13. As Gutierrez explains, this low wage has unexpected roots.
When Black folks were emancipated, they finally were able to work and get paid. They went into service jobs. And in those positions, white folks still didn't want to pay them. And so they said they're going to live off tips. And so it wasn't until years later that they were able to finally make a wage. But the wage is $2.13. And so since emancipation, the wage has not increased.
And this is where the ROC wants to make a change.
Although restaurants are mandated to cover what tips do not, to meet the regular federal wage of $7.25, a Department of Labor study found that between 2012 and 2016, more than 80% of restaurants investigated had violations, suggesting lax and ineffective enforcement.
With more than 3 million people working in the service industry already, and it being the fastest growing industry in the country, this abysmally low minimum wage is threatening the stability of more and more people. And it isn't just anyone. The Century Foundation reports that the most poor workers in America are in the service industry. They earn an average of just $18,410 annually, below the poverty line for a family of 4. The ROC finds that this translates directly to higher poverty rates, with DC's tipped workers experiencing poverty at almost twice the rate of all DC workers. It is the responsibility of the United States government to enable these hardworking yet struggling group of Americans.
The issue extends beyond economics. Because income rates are often as low as $2 an hour, workers are heavily dependent on tips. For female workers in tipped industries, that often translates to tolerating sexual harassment by customers in order to receive a livable income. To understand more, we talked to high school social justice teacher Rebecca Uscian, who worked as a waitress in Chicago to help pay for college.
I remember just having to smile through some really uncomfortable moments. And I'm a feminist. And I remember just being like, it's fine. Just let him talk to you like this because I need his money. And that kind of breaks my heart thinking about it now. Because I wouldn't want people to talk to my daughter the way I was being talked to. I wouldn't want people to have to deal with that. I remember some guy came in and harassed me constantly, but he was a paying customer and the customer's always right. And so I wasn't able to express my voice in that situation.
Studies find that this issue is widespread and politicians have begun raising awareness.
Service industry actually has the highest rate of sexual harassment charges filed of any industry. In fact, the service industry, which includes restaurants, coffee shops, hotels, other hospitality establishments, and others, accounted for 14.2% of sexual harassment claims filed with the EEOC from 2005 to 2015. No one should have to deal with sexual harassment in the workplace.
Although opponents claim that increasing the tip minimum wage will negatively impact restaurants, Gutierrez explains that on principle, restaurant failure should not be a justification for low wages.
If you raise the wage, there are benefits in that you treat your workers with respect and it's way more professional, and that actually decreases the turnover rate so folks don't leave as quickly. So that actually helps restaurants in general. But I do think that there is some truth in saying that some prices of menu items are going to increase, but I think that that's fair. We need to count wages as something that you pay for. Your business plan should be built around the fact that you're going to have to pay for labor, and that's an expense.
Backing up Gutierrez's claim is countless research. According to a study by the consulting firm BDO, labor only accounts for around 30% of restaurant operating costs, and the Institute for Research on Labor and Employment furthers that historically, any costs from raises in minimum wage in places such as California have been absorbed by lower turnover rates and higher worker productivity.
Raising the tip minimum wage is a necessary step in empowering this group of hardworking Americans. In order to uphold what it means to have access to the American dream, we urge the next president to prioritize this issue.
This is increasingly becoming an economy where really only folks who work on the top floor are doing better, and working class folks on every floor below are just struggling to get by. So I support getting rid of a tipped minimum wage and having the same minimum wage across the board, because I do believe that it is insufficient to have restaurant workers and people who work in gratuity professions to receive less than the minimum wage, because it's so inconsistent. And I believe the promise of America is that no matter who you are, where you're from, what you believe in, what your parents did, who you worship, who you love, that if you work hard, you should be able to do better and dream bigger.